Crazy stuff over in the Premier League with one of these four clubs at the top of the table coming at you at the end of this weekend's action. Will it be the Gunners? Will it be Spurs? Will it be Man City? Or will it be the underdogs? Will it be Bournemouth? That's right. Well, today, let's find out. Hey, my name is Dirk, and this is Blackburn Rovers Overseas, your non-stop shop for Premier League football. That's right. Today, we're going to predict match day number 8, that's right, in the Premier League. But I need your help. If you're new, where the hell have you been? Smash your subscribe, boys and girls. This is your one-stop shop for Premier League content. Do us all a favour and hit that subscribe. And while you're at it, can I get a cheeky 75 likes out of you? Do us all a favour and hit that like button. Let's break some records here between you and me. But sit tight. We're going to get into it. Okay, let's take a look back at the last round of matches. These are the results. And these were my predictions. Here is how you guys did in the prediction league. And a quick look at the updated tables should be on the screen now. Alrighty then, folks, let's head into match number 8 now. Alright then, folks, let's head into match number 8 over in the Premier League. And we've got some absolutely cracking matches on the agenda, including Liverpool against Manchester United. And we'll get to that towards the back end of these picks. But we're going to start with a trip to the City ground. And already under pressure, Ange Postecoglou taking on a Chelsea side under Enzo Marquesca, who've made it back to good bit of form for them. But of course, this match taking place at the City ground, where Nottingham Forest find themselves in 17th spot, with just the 5 points for them. 3 defeats on the spin for Nottingham Forest. In fact, winless in at least the last 9 matches. And standing in the way are Chelsea, who've won 3 out of the last 4, but they sit 7th with 11 points to their name. Now, coming into this, Forest are on the back of that 2-0 loss to Newcastle United to make it, 3 defeats in all shapes and all sizes and across all competitions. So not good for Ange at the moment. Standing in the way, Enzo Marquesca, big 2-1 winners for the Chelsea over Liverpool before international break to put themselves back in contention for at least top 4, if not more than that. Now, coming into this, they have played 18 times, these two clubs. 3 wins for Forest, 10 wins for Chelsea, and there's been 5 draws between the two sides. Now, coming into this, they last played at the City ground. It was a 1-0 win for Chelsea back end of the season, remember, which of course was important for those European places. Chelsea coming out on top. Chelsea are actually unbeaten against Nottingham Forest over the last 3 and just lost once against them in the last 6. But what about the bookies? And introducing today, Bob the Bookie with the odds of the latest round of games.
Well, hello guys, my name is Bob and I'm going to be here with the bookmakers odds. We're going to give you the ones right here, right now for this massive game for Ange and of course Nottingham Forest. They are 13-5 for the victory on this one. 10-9 on is your Chelsea red hot favourites, and the draw is at 14-5. Dirk, which way's the smart money on for you, son?
Appreciate that, Bob. And yes, with that being in mind, I think he's got to get a result, hasn't he? Otherwise, he's going to be facing the sack in ridiculously a quick amount of time. So I'm going to go with a draw here, which buys them another game or two against a very, very solid Chelsea side. Let's kick it on forward, though, to the Stadium of Light as Sunderland take on Wolves, of course. Coming at with Sunderland flying high in 9th right now, 11 points for them. Just 1 defeat in the last 5 up against the Wolverhampton Wanderers side under Victor Pereira, who are still bottom with just the 2 points, unbeaten though in the last 3 matches in all competitions. Now, coming into Sunderland did lose to Manchester United last time around. That was on the road. The last home match was a 1-1 draw against Aston Villa. Standing in the way, Wolves are on the back of successive draws, drawing away to Tottenham and more recently a 1-1 score against Brighton. So, good bit of form for them, but they need to turn these draws into wins to boost their relegation survival hopes, of course. Now, coming into this, they have played 22 times since 1993. 7 wins for Sunderland, 7 wins for Wolves. There's been 8 draws between the two sides, but the last time that these two sides played at this venue, 3-0 winners it was for Sunderland way back in May 2018 in the Championship. In fact, not many goals between these two sides, besides that 3-0, back-to-back 0-0s on the horizon between these two sides. So, but if we look at the grand scheme of the form here, just 1 win for Sunderland over the last 6 against Wolves. But what about the bookies? What are they thinking?
Okay, it's the Stadium of Light indeed. 11-8 is your Sunderland here. 21-10, your strugglers. That is Wolves, of course. 21-10 is the draw, but I think it could be one-way traffic this match day at the Stadium of Light.
Appreciate that, but I do think Sunderland will get a result here. I think they are starting to prove a lot of doubters wrong here, and they could actually finish not only safe in the Premier League, but much, much more higher than expected this campaign. Meanwhile, Brighton, though, they're taking on Newcastle United side at the American Express Community Stadium. Brighton under Fabian Hutzler are 12th right now, 9 points for them, just 1 defeat in the last 6. They're on 67% form for them. Up against the Geordies and the Eddie Howe, they're 11th, also on 9 points, just 1 defeat in the last 5. Now, coming into this, Brighton are on the back of that 1-1 scoreline against Wolves, we've just mentioned. The last home match in the league was a 2-2 scoreline against Tottenham Hotspur. They are a good bit of form at home, but they do need to get more consistency with some of these draws that they're picking up recently. So standing in the way are the Geordies. They're on the back of a 2-0 win over Nottingham Forest to make it back-to-back wins, back-to-back clean sheets as well in both competitions, the Champions League and the Premier League. And coming into this, they have played Brighton 22 times since 2012. 9 wins Brighton, 5 wins Newcastle, 8 draws between the two sides, including the last time they played at the Amex, which was a 1-1 scoreline back in May 2025. Brighton are actually unbeaten against the Geordies over the last 5, picked up 3 wins and a couple of draws. And the bookies have their opinion on this match.
Okay, we go down the south coast as Brighton host the Geordies. That's right, 16-11. Can your Seagulls be found here? 13-8 are your Geordies here, and 13-5 is the draw between the two sides. So it's tight, but I think it's leaning towards the hosts.
Appreciate that tight one. Going to go with a 2-1 win for Brighton to continue that recent run of form against the Black and Whites. That's right. Let's go to Crystal Palace as they take on Bournemouth at the Selhurst Park. Gulliver Glasgow's boys are 6 right now, 12 points for them, just 1 defeat in the last 6. Taking on the Bournemouth side, also 1 defeat in the last 6, and they are 4th with 14 points as to what you would call minnows are doing absolutely phenomenal in the Premier League heading into this one. Now, Crystal Palace, though, did lose the last match. It was against Everton at their Fancy Pants new stadium. 2-1 win for the Toffees there. Palace taking their first L of the season, of course. But can they bounce back at their first attempt? Well, we'll see. Standing in their way is Bournemouth on the 3-1 winners over Fulham, most recently to end their part of the season into the international break, and good bit of form for them. Now, coming into this, they have played 18 times to 2011, 6 wins apiece and 6 draws between these two sides, quite evenly stats between these two sides, including back-to-back 0-0s between these two sides. But Bournemouth are unbeaten against Crystal Palace over the last 4, picking up 4 clean sheets on the spin against Crystal Palace. But I think this could be a different kettle of fish heading into this game. And speaking of that, let's have a look what the bookies think.
That's right, Palace is up in action against Bournemouth, of course. Both sides are in hot form right now in the top 6. Between the two, 6-5 is your Palace, 9-4 is your Bournemouth, 12-5 is the draw. I don't know, it's going to be tight, Dirk. I'm going to leave this one up to you.
That's right, I've got to go with Crystal Palace. Of course, they are 2-0 winners. They're cooking with gas right now, especially at home. I think they'll get a positive result. Meanwhile, them 6-fingered banjo players. It is Burnley taking on Leeds United, coming at Turdmore. Burnley sit 18th right now, 4 points for them, 8% form for them. Haven't won in the last 6 matches, including 5 defeats in the last 6. Up against Leeds and Daniel Farke, just 1 win also in the last 6, 15th for the table, 8 points for them. Burnley coming into this on the back of that 2-1 loss to Aston Villa. Their last home match was a 2-1 loss to Cardiff in the Cup. The last performance in the league at home was a 1-1 scoreline against Nottingham Forest. As for their opposition, Leeds, 2-1 loss to Tottenham at home. The last away match, there was a solid 3-1 win over Wolverhampton Wanderers. Coming into this, they have played 24 times since 2004. 8 wins Burnley, 13 wins Leeds, 3 draws. They last played at Turdmore as a 0-0 scoreline back in January 2025. That was in the Championship, of course, between these two promotion winners last campaign. Bookies, thoughts?
Oh, it's them 6, as you said, 6-finger banjo play inbreds, of course. It is Burnley. 9-4 for the victory for the hosts on this one. 6-5 is your Leeds United. The draw can be found at 23-10. Of course, it's quite tight from these newly promoted sides.
Gonna go with Burnley here. Yeah, I don't really back them much, but I think they'll get a result here. And of course, boost their own chances and denting Leeds' survival hopes themselves. Let's go to Manchester City as they take on Everton. Of course, at the Etihad. Man City under Pep Guardiola are 5th right now, 13 points for them, unbeaten in at least the last 6, picking up 4 wins out of the last 6. Up against an Everton side who are sitting in 8th place right now, 11 points for them, just a couple of defeats in the last 6 matches as well. They're coming into this, Man City on the back of that 1-0 win over Brentford. Their last home match was a 5-1 win over Burnley. Goodness gracious me. As for their opposition, Everton are good at home, a little bit dodgy on the road. Here's some back-to-back defeats on the road, losing to Liverpool and Wolves in the Carabao Cup. They have played Man City 57 times since 1993. Man City are winning 28 of them. 18 wins for Everton. There's been 11 draws. They last played at Man City. It was a 1-1 scoreline back in December 2024. However, Man City are unbeaten at least the last 6, picking up 4 wins and a couple of draws to boot.
Okay, yes, Pep's boys are, of course, back to winning ways in the Premier League anyway, and they should look to get another 3 points here. 5-2 on for the victory. That's what we have. 30-2. Sorry, as your visitors, that is Everton. The draw can be found at 54 if you're silly enough to go there.
Of course, you've got to back Man City here at their own place. Going to go 3-0. It might even be more than that. as Man City start to really put the pressure on the leaders. Let's go to Fulham as they take on Arsenal. That's right, coming at you at Craven Cottage. Fulham and DeMarco Silva sit 14th right now, 8 points for them, back-to-back defeats. Up against the Arsenal side, who are top of the table, 16 points for them. They've won four on the spin, 5 wins the last 6 as well. But coming into this on the back of a 2-0 win over West Ham. But as for Fulham, they're coming into this on the back of that 3-1 loss to Bournemouth. They also lost 3-1 to Villa. To back-to-back away wins. However, it's in the home form where it's all at for the hosts there. 3 wins on the bounce, beating Leeds, beating Brentford, and also beating Cambridge in the Cup to make it 3 successive wins on the bounce. As for the Gunners, we did say 2-0 winners over West Ham last time around. Their last away match was a 2-1 win over the Geordies. That was back on the 28th of September. But they're coming into this having played Fulham 36 times since 2001. Just 4 wins for the Cottagers, 24 wins for the Gunners. There's been 8 draws. They last played at Fulham, 1-1 it was, back in December 2024. In fact, the last 2 at Craven Cottage have resulted in a draw and a win for Fulham. So pretty good recent form against Arsenal. So we'll see how that goes. And of course, bookies, I want to hear what they have to say about this tight encounter in London.
Yep, an old London affair at Craven Cottage. Fulham have you 17-4 if you want to go there. 7-4 your table toppers, that is Arsenal. The draw can be found 10-3 though. But the wise money is with you, Dirk.
Got to back Arsenal right now, 2-1 winners for them to take it to the house and again maintain their top of the table status. Meanwhile, what a game we have on Sunday. It's Tottenham, it's Aston Villa. It's on the 19th of October at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. Thomas Frank's boys are third right now, 14 points for them, unbeaten in at least the last 6, picking up 3 wins and 3 draws in all competitions for Tottenham. Standing in their way, Unai Emery's Aston Villa, who've clicked in a bit of form themselves, unbeaten in the last 5, picking up 4 wins on the bounce. They sit 13th right now with just the 9 points. Coming into this, Tottenham are on the back of that 2-1 win over Leeds. Most recently, that was in the Premier League pre-international break. The last home match was a disappointing, you would think, 1-1 scoreline against Wolves. Villa, though, on the back of that 2-1 win over their fellow claret and blue opposition Burnley. Their last away match in the league was a disappointing 1-1 draw away to Sunderland. But yeah, good bit of form for Aston Villa at the moment. 4 wins on the bounce at all competitions, but 2 in the Champions League, 2 in the Europe and 2 in the Premier League. They have played Tottenham 61 times since 1993. Spurs have won 28 of them. Villa have won 20 of them. There's been 13 draws between the two sides. They last played at Tottenham. 2-1 winners. Scrap that. They last played at Tottenham. It was a 4-1 win for Tottenham back in November 2024. That was in the Premier League, of course. But over the course of the recent run of form, Tottenham have only won twice in the last 6 against an Aston Villa side.
Okay, high-flying Tottenham against the Villa side, back in form, of course. Spurs can be found 11-10 at their own backyard. We've got 11-5 is your Aston Villa. The draw is at 11-4.
Yep, tricky one here, but I've got to go Spurs here. 2-1 win on Thomas Frank. I think they're really good this season. I think they're going to make these kind of results quite common. 2-1 winners. Not much in it, but enough to get the 3 points. And then we go to Anfield. What a game this is. Liverpool up against Manchester United. Liverpool under Arne Slot sits second right now. 15 points for them. 3 defeats on the spin for Liverpool right now. Up against the Manchester United side under Ruben Amorim. They've won 3 and lost 3 over the last 6. But they sit 10th with 10 points heading into this one now. Liverpool are on the back of 3 successful defeats. All of those defeats were on the road. They lost to Palace at Selhurst Park, Galatasaray Champions League, and Chelsea most recently. But of course, their last match at Anfield was a 2-1 win over Southampton. Not the best, not the most impressive, but of course, 3 defeats followed on 3 home wins as well. So it is at Anfield, so I'm expecting a very good performance from Liverpool, a good response as well. But Manchester United coming into on the back of that 2-0 win over Sunderland. That was at Old Trafford. Their last couple of away matches have been quite disappointing. Of course, losing to Grimsby in the Cup, losing to Man City, and then losing to Brentford. Coming into this, they have played 77 times since 1994. 26 wins for Liverpool, 34 wins for Manchester United. There's been 17 draws. The last time that they played over at Anfield was a 2-2 scoreline back in January 2025. That was, of course, at the start of the year. But Liverpool are unbeaten in the last handful of games here. What we're looking at, 4 on the spin without a loss to Manchester United. Of course, the Red Devils' last victory was a 4-3 win in the FA Cup back in March 2024. So at least a season and a bit ago. Coming into this, the bookies have their own take. What do they think about this match?
Okay, it's the one you've been waiting for. Of course, it's Liverpool. It's Manchester United. Cannot get bigger than this. Goodness gracious me. Liverpool out of sorts, out of form. 5-3 on the red hot favourites. Maybe even top of the table once again. Standing in the way there. They're old dear. They're old rivals, of course. 50-4 4 is your Ruben Amorim's Manchester United. The draw 10-3. I expect goals, and I'm hoping you're with me too, Dirk.
Of course, I'm expecting a Liverpool resurgence here. 4-2 winners. They cannot lose against the bitter rivals here. And of course, get back to winning ways and maybe a challenge for that top spot once again. And then finally, a bit of an all-London affair on Monday night. It's West Ham against Brentford at the London Stadium. Nuno Espirito Santo's Hammers in 19th right now. 4 points for them, just 1 win in the last 6 up against Keith Andrews and Brentford. 2 wins, 2 defeats in the last 4. They sit 16th with 7 points coming into this. The Hammers, though, are on the back of that 2-0 loss away to Arsenal. Their last home match was also a defeat to Crystal Palace, so they need to get some wins. I don't even know when the last win was. In fact, it was a 3-0 win over Nottingham Forest back on the 31st of August. As for their opposition, Brentford on the back of a home loss to Man City. Their last away performance was a 3-1 loss to Fulham. Coming into this, they've played 11 times, these two clubs, since 2020. 4 wins West Ham, 6 wins Brentford. There's been 1 draw between these two sides. Their last match at this venue was a 1-0 win for Brentford. That was back in February 2025. In fact, Brentford coming out without a loss against West Ham last season and only losing once against them in the last 5.
All right, we go back to London for wrapping this sucker up here. We got West Ham against Brentford. 7-5 is your Nuno's boys here. 9-5 is your Keith Andrews lads. That's Brentford. And 12-5 is the draw, of course. But I think the money should be with the Hammers on this one.
With all that being said, I'm going to go with a West Ham victory here. 2-0 winners for the Hammers under Nuno Espirito Santo. Big win for them. They need it, of course, to get themselves moving out of the drop zone, hopefully. Let's check on that, in fact. If I am right, this is what the table will look like. And if I'm right, this is what the table will look like. It'll be Arsenal top of the tops. It'll be Arsenal top of the pops with 19 points. Liverpool in 2nd, Spurs in 3rd, and Manchester City are in 4th. Going down, Wolves, Nottingham Forest, and West Ham United as, of course, this part of the season. But still, lots of games to happen. Don't worry. Don't call your Jets just yet. And, of course, speaking of your Jets, make sure you give us a bit of a subscribe. Smash the like as well. And, of course, get your predictions in the comments section so we can showcase you the best next time around when we come back for match day number 9. But until then, subscribe. Catch you later. We're done. Until then, I'm out.